Namaskar. I'm Dr. Nalini Avinash Wagmare, working as a associate professor at Tilak Maharashtra Vidyapith, Pune. Today's our topic is related to urbanization, that is second urbanization in India, and trade and commerce in ancient period. So they both topics cover in this lecture. Let's see what is the urbanization in India. The emergence of second urbanization in India occurring around in the 6th century BC represents a transformative phase in ancient Indian history marked by the rise of urban centers after the decline of the Indus Valley civilization. How we call the first urbanization took place in the time of the Indus Valley civilization. Centered primarily in the Gangetic Plains, this period was driven by the widespread use of iron technology, surplus agriculture production, and expanding trade networks. It witnessed the growth of Mahajanapadas and significant socio-economic transformations, including the rise of Magadha as a dominant power and the emergence of religious movements like the Buddhism and Jainism. First, we have to study Buddhism, then later on Jainism also. Then defining second urbanization. The second urbanization occurred around the 6th century BC because of use of iron tools and technology, then smaller Janapadas and Mahajanapadas. Then urban centers at that time is Rajgriha, Kausambi, and Sravasti emerged as a trade, governance, and cultural hubs. This space marked the significant socio-economic, political, and cultural advancement in ancient Indian history. Then why the first urbanization, that is Indus Valley civilization, is done from various authors, scholars, historians have given a different opinion about it. Climate change, natural disaster, floods, earthquakes, and other natural calamities. Then collapse of trade networks, especially with Mesopotamia, weakened the economy also. Then urban decay, migration, socio-political changes. So, uh, despite the decline, many cultural elements persist and influence later civilization in Indian subcontinent. Then what were the factors responsible for the rise of second urbanization in India? Iron technology, the discovery of use of iron tools, improved agriculture efficiency, expand arable land. Then agriculture surplus, increased food production, supported larger populations and freed some people to engage in trade, crafts, and governance. Then geographical advantage. The Gangetic Plains offered fertile soil, ample water resources, and a conducive environment for settlement and farming. Rise of Mahajanapadas. Stable and organized political entities provided security and governance, enabling urban development. Trade and commerce. Flourishing internal and external trade networks boosted economic activity and encouraged the growth of market towns. So these are the few reasons to rise the second urbanization. Then population growth, better food security and resources supported higher population density, driving urban expansion. Then economic diversification, specialization in crafts, industries, and professions foster urban economics and social complexity. Religious and cultural centers, cities became hubs for emerging religions like Jainism and Buddhism, which attracted scholars, pilgrims, and traders. Then technological advancement, decline of tribal system is also one more reason to start the second urbanization. Then what is the emergence of the cities? Rajgriha, Kausambi, Sravasti, Vaishali became hubs of trade and administration culture. The decline of Mahajanapadas, large kingdoms like Magadha, Koshala was provided political stability and urban governance. Then iron technology also use iron tools and weapons revolutionize agriculture, construction, and warfare supporting urban growth. Then the economic prosperity, cities became centers for trade and commerce, with guilds, merchants, artisans managing economic activities. Trade routes connecting cities like Patapalutta with distant regions. Specialization of craft production. Professionals like pottery, weaving, and metallurgy flourished this time. religious and intellectual growth, urban areas became centers of learning and religious activities. Gautam Buddha delivered sermons in cities like Sarnath. Then social stratification. The Varna system and emerging guilds defined social roles and economic hierarchy in urban areas. Then taxation and revenue system also. Urban infrastructure like planned streets, granaries, marketplaces, fortifications were characters of these cities. Then cultural exchange. Urban centers serve as melting lots of for ideas, art, culture due to diverse population and extensive trade. Then what was its impact? First one is economic transformation. The growth of cities like Pataliputra and Rajagriha fostered the rise of trade, agriculture, and crafts. Then second, Magadha became a significant economic hub, benefiting from trade routes like the Gangetic Plains with the Deccan Plateau and Central Asia. Political consolidation. Powerful Mahajanapadas such as Magadha consolidated power and resources. Magadha's dominance eventually led to the formation of the Mauryan Empire, which Chandragupta Maurya establishing a strong central administration. Then religious movements. The urban centers became centers for Jainism and Buddhism. Cities like Sarnath, where Buddha gave his first sermon, and Vaishali, birthplace of Mahavira, were key locations for the spread of these religions, challenging Vedic traditions and offering alternative spiritual paths. Then cultural development is Kausambi and Rajagriha became a urban centers. Then spread of literacy, like the use of scripts like Brahmi and Kharoshti became more widespread, especially in urban centers as the Pataliputra and Takshashila, to facilitate administration, record keeping, and communication in trade and governance. In trade expenses, cities like Ujjain and Pataliputra became major trade hubs, facilitating exchange of goods such as spices, silk, and textiles. Ujjain's position on the north-south trade route connected the Deccan with the northern ranges, enhancing commerce. Foundation for empires. The urbanization regions like Magadha set the stage for the establishment of Mauryan Empire, with Ashoka's administration benefiting from the resources and governance system that arose during the second urbanization. Cultural exchange. The rise of urban centers also lead to cross-cultural exchanges with cities like Takshashila serving as centers for the interaction of Greek, Persian, and Indian cultures, especially during the time of Alexander the Great's invasion and its aftermath. Then second urbanization. The second urbanization of India, emerging around the 6th century BC, was a transformative period that reshaped the political, economic, and cultural landscape of ancient India. Driven by the development of iron technology, surplus agriculture production, and the rise of Mahajanapadas, this phase saw the establishment of thriving urban centers like Rajgriha, Pataliputra, and Kosambi, which became hubs for trade, governance, and cultural exchange. The era also witnessed the rise of major religious movements like Buddhism and Jainism, along with advancements in art, architecture, and social organization. The second urbanization laid the foundation for India's later political structures, including the Mauryan Empire, and marked a critical turning point in the evolution of urban civilization in subcontinent. Then rise of urban centers in ancient India. The rise of urban centers in ancient India marked a significant transformation in the social, cultural, and economic landscape of the region. Cities like Pataliputra and Takshashila emerged as vibrant hubs of trade and cultural exchange, facilitating interaction that would shape not only their own destinies but also the broader tapestry of Indian civilization. Then Pataliputra, located at the confluence of Ganges and Sun rivers, served as the capital of several powerful empires, including Maurya and Gupta dynasties. It was a city characterized by its grand architecture, bustling markets, diverse population. The strategic geographical location of Pataliputra made it a vital trade center connecting northern India with the eastern and western regions of the subcontinent. Merchants from various backgrounds converged here, bringing with the goods such as textiles, spices, and precious metals. The prosperity derived from trade had profound implication for the cultural and intellectual life of the Pataliputra. The city became a melting. Uh, it was here that a famous scholar and philosopher Chanakya, also known as Kautilya, authors the Arthashastra, a treatise on statecraft and economics written here. His insights into governance and administration were vital in establishing effective leadership during Mauryan period. The flourishing of arts and sciences in Pataliputra can be attributed to this vibrant exchange of knowledge as scholars, poets, artists gathered to share their works and ideas. Then Takshashila, another eminent urban center, played a crucial role in the cultural and economic interaction of ancient India. Located at the crossroads of trade routes connecting India to Central Asia and beyond, Takshashila attracted merchants, travelers, scholars from various cultures. The city was renowned for its university, which is considered as one of the earliest centers of higher education in the world. Here, the students studied a diverse range of subjects, including medicine, mathematics, philosophy, and the arts. The physician Charaka, one particularly noteworthy figure associated with the Takshashila is the ancient physician Charaka, often referred as the father of Ayurveda. His work, the Charaka Sahitya Samhita, laid the foundations for traditional Indian medicine and emphasized the importance of holistic healing. The presence of such intellectual luminaries in Takshila contributed to the city's reputation as a center of learning and innovation. Then the urban centers in ancient India, the urban centers of ancient India were not just cities of commerce, they were also arenas for cultural expression and artistic achievement. The prosperity generated by trade allowed for the patronage of artists and craftsmen, resulting in remarkable advancements in architecture and sculpture. The stupa at Sanchi, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, is a prime example of artistic achievements of this era. Constructed during the reign of Emperor Ashoka, the stupa served as a reliquary and symbol of the spread of Buddhism. Then the influence of urban centers. The influence of trade on urban development extended beyond economics. It also shaped social structures. As cities grew, they became melting diverse culture, language, and religions. The interactions among various communities lead to the emergence of new cultural practices and traditions. For instance, the confluence of Hindus, Buddhists, and Jain influences in urban areas resulted in a rich tapestry of religious art and architecture. Temples and monasteries adorned with intricate carvings and sculptures reflected the syncretism of beliefs and practices. The rise of urban centers also brought about changes in governance and administration. The rise of urban centers also brought changes the need to change manage burgeoning populations and complex trade networks lead to the establishment of more structured forms of governance. The Mauryan Empire, for example, implemented a centralized administration that facilitated trade and commerce. The use of standardized weights and measures, as well as introduction of coinage, further streamlined economic transactions, fostering a sense of unity across diverse regions. Then, moreover, the urban centers became crucial in the dissemination of new ideas and technologies. The exchange of knowledge was not limited to commerce, it empowered science, art, and philosophy. The spread of mathematical concepts such as the place value system and the concept of zero can be traced back to the interaction that took place in these urban hubs. Such innovation would later have a lasting impact on the mathematics and science globally. Then artisans and craftsmen. As trade routes connected these urban centers to distant lands, the flow of goods and ideas became a two-way street. Artisan craftsmen in Indian cities were influenced by styles and techniques from various cultures. The intricate designs of textiles, metalwork, and pottery began to reflect a fusion of local and foreign influences, creating unique artistic expressions that continue to be celebrated today. The new ideas and technologies. Moreover, urban centers became crucial in the dissemination of new ideas and technologies. The exchange of knowledge was not limited, it is also repeated. As trade routes connected these urban centers to distant land, the flow of goods and ideas became a two-way street. Okay, from Janapada to Empire, the rise of urban center, I have referred this one, you can refer. Then what was the trade and commerce in ancient India? India has a long been a trading nation with precious goods such as spices, saints, valuable stones, jewelry, silks, muslins, and medicinal drugs, etc., to offer the world since the Harappan era. The, the dockyard discovered in Lothal, Gujarat, gives a strong evidence of maritime commerce at the time. The Vedic economy valued both internal and external trade equally. Manufacturing activity was brisk throughout the Mauryan rule. The Mauryans had enacted rules and regulations on trade movement. The Kushanas made significant progress in the Indian trade and developed trading links with China, Rome, Sindhu, Kapisa, Gandhara, Puskalavati, Madura, and Varanasi. The Guptas not only expanded their eastern trade but also opened up western seaborne trade, resulting in the unparalleled economic success. The Palas and Cholas established connection throughout the southern India. Trade enhanced cultural interaction, resulting in the spread of ideas and cultural practices, notably in the fields of language, religion, and art. Trade is the acquisition, distribution, and exchange of goods. It has occurred for a long as people have needed or desired something that others had, but they have lacked. Bartering for commodities and trade in kind evolved into increasing complex forms of exchange using commodity currencies like bronze, copper, ignores, or even cowrie shells. Cows, cells, beads, and even other metals were employed as a means of exchange throughout the Vedic period. However, these were typically only useful for long scale commercial operations and smaller transactions necessitate the use of something else that is coins or money. Ancient nations often introduced coins as a convenient means to pay warriors, but the concept rapidly expanded to civilized life. Early Indian trade evidence dating back about 3.5 million shows that the Indian subcontinent was recognized as a key commercial zone in ancient times. Economic activities can also be vividly seen in the public life of Indians in the Stone Age also. Indian trade prospered in all forms from the beginning, whether it was restricted domestic or long distance external trade, and whether it was carried by land or water. Trade in ancient India mostly concerned on luxury things such as precious metals, spices, exquisite fabrics. But as shipping got quicker, more dependable and less expensive, even commonplace items such as olives and fish paste were shipped over long distance. Ideas and cultural practices spread as a result of increasing interaction between civilization brought about by commerce, notably in the field of language, religion, and art. International trade resulted in the formation of trading emporium, which frequently became colonies. As the struggle for resources and access to profitable trade routes became more intense, monarchs sought to steal the wealth of other nations and empires, which sometimes ended in battles. There is evidence that maritime trade persisted on a large scale during the Vedic, Mauryan, Kushana, and Gupta eras, as well as succeeding periods of South Indian dynasties such as Pallavas, Chalukyas, and Cholas. The slogan of Rigvedic sailors was Maurya ship embark on all regions of globe. Similarly, narratives of ship tribes, distressors, and mercenaries moving overseas found in Buddhist literature, especially Jataka stories. There were three land routes connecting places of production to point of exports such as ports and vice versa. During trading, the feeder land routes serve as both connecting and distribution channels. Nature has given an appropriate backdrop for Indian commercial activities. Nature defines the direction of evolution while man decides the rate and stage. Right is different. India is fortunate with the Himalayas to the north and sea to the south. The archaeological evidence revealed that trade and commerce across land and water played a significant role in the evolution of the economy in ancient India. The presence of the sea has helped in the expansions of business across continents. Trade during the Harappan times. The Harappan civilization had a thriving trade and commerce network both inside and outside of its borders. When urban civilization grew in towns such as Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, India established trading and economic relations with Sumer, Egypt, Oman, Bahrain, and other Western Asian countries. Harappans were known to be skilled seafarers, as indicated by depictions of boats of seals, tablets, and amulets. The dockyard unearthed in Gujarat Hotel provides extremely strong evidence of marine trade at that period. The establishment of urban centers in the Indus Valley civilization coincided with the development of exchange agriculture production, which was first noted in India, the rise of trade and crafts. Then there, in around 3000 BC, trade began in ancient Mesopotamia and the Indus Valley. Spices, gold, textiles were among the commodities traded. Cities with a greater number of items to trade were wealthy. As civilization grew in size, so did the number of individuals who required greater resources. One of the reasons for the development trade and commerce was because of this. Because they traded diverse items based on the natural resources of the civilization's region. Ancient towns connected distinct groups of people. The growth of commerce has an influence on communication, money, transportation, and cultural systems. Since the Harappan period, textiles have been one of the most important items in Indian trading. Textiles, as trade products like many other perishable materials, do not remain as evidence, but the few that do exist say much about their commerce. Textile trade evidence can occasionally be found implicitly in other sources. For example, scroll headpieces of Harappan clay figure closely matches the emblem of Babylonian goddess, implying trade links between the two lands. Babylonia was an ancient Mesopotamian city. Another reference showed that clothing as well as other commodities such as medicinal herbs, incense, saint materials, and so on were routinely delivered to Mesopotamia from the eastern lands of Melhua, the Sumerian term for the Indus civilization. These products remain the item of trading in subsequent times as well. Then spices, then also uh, Chinese silk was imported into Kanchipuram and exported to Malaya from there. Kanchipuram was also a center of indigenous silk manufacturing. Therefore, it's reasonable to assume that local silk was included in the route shipped to Malaya. Kanchi also produced enormous gleaming pearls and unusual stones which were swept for gold and silk items. It suggests the silk fabrics played a significant role in Indian trade. Then Vedic period is defined as a time period between 500 to 500. The Rigvedic paints a picture of communities like this during the Harappan period. Agriculture was the mainstay of the economy. People's wants were limited. The village were well versed in snowing, harvesting, threshing, and other agriculture seasons. The inhabitants were pastoral, and the cow as well as cows and bulls were reared. So trade in Vedic period. Then trade in commerce were vital aspects for early Vedic economy, which valued both internal and external trade equally. Trade was mostly conducted through a bartering system in which products were swapped for goods. We discover unique prayers in the Rigveda for attaining wealth through seafaring interest. Pani was a merchant girl and that supervised and controlled commercial activities. Mana was the medium of weight, and Kar was the essential unit of commerce. With the integration of Panis, a composite Vaishya class formed later on. Agriculture, trading, and livestock breeding were the occupations of Vaishya class, according to several Dharmashastras. Brahmanas were taking part in trade and commerce is also known from Manusmriti. Several mentions of the trips performed for business and other objectives can be found in the Rigveda. Varuna, the god of sea, is attributed with the knowledge of ship routes. Vedic depiction of Aryan sea waves and commerce activity attest to their commercial vocation. In the later Vedic period, there was marked change in the economic life of Aryans and important changes in the trade and commerce can be noticed. Then trade and commerce in the Maurya Kushana times. Maurya and Kushana times manufacturing activity was brisk throughout the Mauryan rule. According to Greek sources, who mention the fabrication chariots, carts, weaponry, agriculture tools, as well as the construction of ships. Strabo mentioned gold embroidered dresses with valuable stones adorning them, as well as floral robes made of excellent cotton. Fine wines, colorants, glass vessels, costly silver vessels, singers, and beautiful maidens of the harem, and the finest ornament were among the items imported into India. While the country exported silks, muslin, spices, perfumes, medicinal herbs, indigo, sandalwood, pearls, ivory, iron, and steel, and so on. So Morans had enacted rules and regulation on trade movement, including the appointment of a superintendent of shipping to control over waterborne trade, mudra nayakas to oversee overseas trade, superintendent of trade and customs to oversee overall trade, including the collection of duties on commodity. According to Kautilya, the Hemavata Marga, the route from the Balka to India via Hindu Kush, was utilized only for the trading of horses, woolen textiles, and silks and furs. Other products sold on Dakshinapatha, Deccan route, were diamonds, precious stones, pearls, and gold. According to the Arthashastra, the Mauryan administration was more interested in the affairs of industries and industries than it had been previously. The northern Uttarapatha and Dakshinapatha land routes, which together form the grand route of India, became the eternal trade routes, silk trade, along with their feeder channels, especially during the Kushana period, which connected China, Southeast Asia, Central Asian, European countries. Kushanas made significant progress in the Indian trade and developed trading links with China, Rome, Sindhu, Kapisa, Gandharas, Pushkalavati, Madura, and Varanasi. Then trade in during Gupta's and later period commercial flourished during Gupta period, leading a better finance system led by Nagara Srishti, chief banker. Taxes were collected at a higher rate than usual. Printers and weavers may have been obliged to pay a tax equal to half the price of their work. Jambudvipa Prajnapati, a Gupta era document, describes 18 ancient guilds, including silk weavers, napkin dealers, calico printers, and tailors. Maurya's traded mostly with the East through Kalinga ports. The Gupta not only expanded their eastern trade but also opened up western seaborne trade, resulting in unparalleled economic success. The wealth of Roman Empire began to stream into India through the western coast ports of Broj, Sopara, Campe, Kalyana, when Chandragupta II opened up the western trade. Arabs used to travel to the west coast to buy take medicines, perfumes, shoes, black salt, spices, indigo, textile, muslin, etc. Between 7th and 10th centuries in northern India, trade and commerce declined, resulting in the fall of cities and urban life in the region. The collapse of Roman Empire in West as well as the collapse of Iranian Empire kingdoms contributed to a notable shortage of gold and silver coins in northern India. from the 7th to 10th centuries. With the establishment powerful and widespread Arab kingdoms in West Asia and Africa, the situation in northern India progressively alerted. India was ruled by a number of mighty kingdoms throughout this period. Western India's Gujarat, Parthias, Eastern India's Palas, and Deccan's Rashtrakutas among them. Under the patronage Chola rulers, trade and commerce blossomed. The Cholas established connection throughout southern India. They then connected Sri Lanka, Southeast Asia, possibly China in the north to the trade network. Cholas, who rose to prominence in the 10th century, gave a huge boost to the international trade. Merchant guilds such as Manigramam, Danadesis, Anivar took part in seaborne trade and stretched from the Persian Gulf. Trading expeditions were sent by the Chola emperors to China, cotton, textiles, spices, gems, ivory, renaissance, valuable stones, fragile items were the main products which remain in high demand in China during this period. When trade in Chalukya period, Aihole guilds based in Aihole travel over the world carrying priceless items in their luggage. They made philanthropic contribution as a group. The banks of these guilds were so stable throughout the Rashtrakuta period that they inspired the greatest public trust. In conclusion, we can say that it is reasonable to conclude that early trade mostly concentrated on luxury items such as precious metals, spices, fabrics. But as shipping got quicker, more dependable, and less expensive, even commonplace items, fish paste, were shipped over long distance. India has a right to proud of its role as an essential and fundamental element of worldwide Silk Route, which was a historic trade route that spanned from the 2nd and 14th century. Trade enhanced cultural interactions, resulting in the spread of ideas and cultural practices, notably in the fields of language, religion, and art. So these are the reference books you can refer for more detailed study about the trade and commerce in ancient India as well as the urbanization. So in this lecture, I have mixed 2 points. One is urbanization, that is second urbanization and its importance, and urbanization in ancient India. And the second point is trade and commerce in ancient period in detail in this lecture. So these are the reference you can refer for more detailed study. This is the paper I also refer, so you can also refer for detailed study. This is also books helpful to us. So thank you.